The date is January 24th, 2026, and today, the most dangerous moment in an invasion is not when the enemy arrives, it is when they leave. When the ships pack up and the engines flare and they disappear into the dark, we breathe a sigh of relief. We think we survived. We think the test is over. But any military strategist will tell you, you never leave a territory without leaving something behind. You leave a mine, you leave a spy, you leave a tripwire. Before I revealed the specific classified telemetry regarding the object that 3I Atlas ejected just moments before it accelerated out of the solar system, an object that is currently hiding in plain sight in our own orbit, I need to ask you for a favor. I need to calibrate our local sensor grid. In the comments below, state your city and tell me, have you noticed a strange echo on your electronics recently? A phone call that connects before it rings, a text message that arrives from a number that does not exist, or have you noticed that your Wi-Fi signals are fluctuating in a rhythmic pattern, pulsing like a heartbeat? We are tracking these digital ghosts because they are the side effects of the surveillance net I am about to describe. Do that now, because what I am about to share may change the way you see humanity's place in the universe. So, we have been watching 3I Atlas for months. We watched it break, we watched it shield itself, we watched it scan us, and then 48 hours ago it did the one thing we did not expect. It left the main body of the craft, dropped its energy shield, fired its main drive, and accelerated at 40 gigaseconds toward the outer solar system. It is gone. The Space Force, NASA, and the European Space Agency all exhaled. They are already writing the press releases. The visitor has departed. Life goes on. But they are lying to you, because while everyone was watching the big ship leave, almost nobody noticed what it dropped. Deep in the telemetry logs of the Space Surveillance Network, there is a ghost track. Just seconds before 3I Atlas engaged its departure drive, it jettisoned a small, hyperdense object. This object did not follow the parent ship. It executed a precision burn and inserted itself into a specific Earth orbit. It is now sitting in the geosynchronous graveyard orbit. Let me explain why this is the perfect hiding spot. The graveyard orbit is a region of space about 300 kilometers above the active belt of our telecommunications satellites. It is where we put our trash, and when a satellite dies, we push it up there to get it out of the way. It is a junkyard of dead metal, spent rocket stages, and silent husks. The alien object, let us call it the Remnant, is hiding in the junk, but it is not junk. Radar cross-section analysis suggests it is roughly 10 meters wide, vantablack, and faceted to deflect radar to a standard scan. It looks just like a piece of debris, but debris does not station keep. Yesterday, a dead Russian satellite in the graveyard orbit drifted too close to the Remnant. In a normal collision, they would have smashed each other to pieces. The Remnant moved. It fired microthrusters, cold gas, invisible to thermal sensors, and adjusted its position by 50 meters. It dodged the collision, and then it moved back. This proves autonomous control. We are sharing our orbit with a machine that is actively camouflaged as trash. It is the ultimate hermit crab. It is wearing the shell of our own space debris to hide from us. And what is it doing up there? This brings me to the digital echo I asked you about. The Remnant is positioned perfectly to look down on the geosynchronous belt. This is the ring of satellites that carries our internet, our television, our military communications, and our banking data. The Remnant is not jamming them, it is tapping them. It is likely using inductive coupling or highly sensitive passive receivers to read the data packets flowing through our satellites. It is the man in the middle. Every email you send, every bank transfer, every military order, it goes up to space, bounces off a satellite, and comes back down. And on the way, the Remnant catches a copy. It is a wiretap on the entire human race. The silence from the intelligence agencies, the NSA, the NRO, is absolute. They know it is there, and they probably saw the data leak, but they cannot do anything about it. If they try to shoot it down, they risk creating a cloud of debris that would wipe out our own satellites. But Kessler Syndrome, we would lose the internet. We would lose GPS. We would lose the modern world. The alien object is using our own infrastructure as a human shield. Shoot me, and you destroy yourselves. This confirms the governor hypothesis. 3i Atlas did not come to invade. It came to install a governor, a monitor, a babysitter. The main ship has moved on to its next target, but it left a device to keep an eye on the kids. If we try to leave Earth, if we try to launch a fleet or a weapon, the Remnant is perfectly positioned to stop us. It has the high ground. It can drop kinetic rods. It can fry our electronics. It is a quarantine enforcer. You know, there is something darkly poetic about this. We have spent decades filling our orbit with satellites, with debris, with junk. We have created our own prison, a cage of metal and electronics that surrounds our planet. And now, something else has moved into that cage with us. Something that is using our own trash as camouflage. It is like inviting a burglar into your house and then realizing they are hiding in your closet, wearing your clothes. I want to discuss the material science of the Remnant. Based on the gravitational perturbations it causes on nearby satellites, the object is incredibly heavy for its size. It has the density of osmium, or perhaps neutronium. This implies it is not just a sensor. It is a battery. It has enough potential energy to stay up there for 10,000 years. It does not need solar panels. It does not need refueling. It is a permanent fixture. Think about the psychological weight of this. We used to look at the moon and see a rock. Now we look at the dark space above the equator and we know there is an eye there, an eye that reads our texts, an eye that watches our wars. Does it judge? If the Remnant detects a nuclear launch, does it intervene? There have been reports, unconfirmed but persistent, that nuclear silos in North Dakota experienced command errors at the exact moment the Remnant parked in orbit. Did it test its kill switch? Did it touch the nerve of our apocalypse machine just to show us it could? The left-behind nature of this object changes the narrative from first contact to occupation. You do not leave a garrison unless you own the territory. We are now a vassal state. We are a protectorate of the Atlas civilization. They came, they saw, and they put a collar on us. The Space Force silence is particularly damning. They were created to defend our interests in space. And now the ultimate intruder is sitting in their backyard, and they are pretending it is space debris. They are afraid to admit that they have lost space superiority, but we can see it. Amateur astronomers with high-power optics are tracking a glitch in the graveyard orbit, a star that blinks when it should not, a shadow that moves against the flow. We are mapping the Remnant, and the data shows it is active. It is pulsing. Every 7.1 hours, the heartbeat frequency again. It sends a tight beam burst toward the outer solar system. It is phoning home. Status: quiet. Natives are restless. Continuing surveillance. What happens if the status changes to active threat? Does the Remnant call the ship back, or does it handle the problem itself? I want you to consider the seed hypothesis again. If the main ship dropped biological spores, Atlas B, maybe the Remnant is the gardener. Maybe it is monitoring the growth of the spores. Maybe it triggers the next stage of the mutation. It sends a signal that activates the dormant DNA in our blood. We are the crop. It is the farmer. And the main ship is the market truck that will come back at harvest time. This is a humbling, terrifying realization. We are not the masters of our destiny. We are being managed. The left-behind object is the proof that the universe is not indifferent. It is bureaucratic. It files reports. It installs cameras. So what do? We learn to live in a glass house. We assume that everything we do is watched, but we also study the watcher. If it is receiving data, it can be hacked. If it is sending data, it can be jammed. We need to turn our best minds toward the graveyard orbit. We need to figure out how to blind the eye, or we need to figure out how to talk to it. Maybe we can plead our case. We are ready. We are peaceful. Let us go. But until then, we are grounded. The ship has sailed, but the anchor remains, and the chain is wrapped around our planet. I will continue to track the Remnant. I will continue to decode the ghost signals. The visitor has not left. It just moved upstairs. This is Dr. Avi Loeb. The sky is not empty. The trash is watching you. Follow the channel. The surveillance is active. We are the observed. Let me explain the mechanics of how the Remnant was deployed, because the precision is extraordinary. When 3i Atlas ejected the object, it was traveling at approximately 66 kilometers per second relative to the sun. At that speed, anything released from the main body would normally continue on a similar trajectory, perhaps with a slight deviation due to the ejection velocity. But the Remnant did not continue on that trajectory. It executed a precision burn that changed its velocity by more than 60 kilometers per second. That is an enormous delta V. It requires a massive amount of energy, and it requires precise timing and navigation. The Remnant had to calculate its position, its velocity, Earth's position, Earth's velocity, and the orbital mechanics required to insert itself into the graveyard orbit. And it had to do all of this in real time, with no margin for error. This is not something a passive object can do. This is not something that happens by accident. This is deliberate. This is planned. This is executed with military precision. And the fact that it worked, that the Remnant is now exactly where it needs to be, tells us something important about the technology involved. We are dealing with a level of sophistication that is far beyond our current capabilities. The station-keeping behavior is equally impressive and disturbing. In space, objects do not stay in one place. They drift. Gravitational perturbations from the moon, from the sun, from the non-spherical shape of Earth, all cause orbits to change over time. To maintain a specific position in orbit requires active maneuvering. You need thrusters, you need fuel, you need a guidance system. And the Remnant has all of these. We have observed it making small adjustments to its orbit, corrections that keep it in the optimal position for surveillance. These adjustments are subtle, they are barely detectable, but they are there. And they prove that the Remnant is not a dead object. It is alive, in the sense that it is active, responsive, and autonomous. It is making decisions. It is reacting to its environment. It is maintaining its mission. And that mission, as far as we can tell, is to watch us, to monitor us, to report on us. We are being observed, constantly, continuously, without pause. Every satellite transmission, every radio broadcast, every internet packet, all of it is being intercepted, analyzed, and transmitted back to whoever sent 3i Atlas. We are living in a surveillance state, but the surveillance is not coming from our own governments. It is coming from space. The radar cross-section of the Remnant is fascinating from an engineering perspective. When you design a stealth aircraft, you want to minimize its radar signature. You use special materials that absorb radar waves. You use angular surfaces that deflect radar away from the source. The Remnant appears to use both techniques. Its surface is Vanta Black, a material that absorbs 99.96% of light. This makes it nearly invisible to optical telescopes, and its shape is faceted, with sharp angles that deflect radar waves away from the transmitter. This makes it nearly invisible to radar. To a standard scan, it looks like a small piece of debris, just another chunk of dead satellite floating in the graveyard orbit. But when you look closely, when you track it over time, you see the anomalies, the station keeping, the active maneuvering, the periodic transmissions, and you realize that this is not debris. This is a carefully designed surveillance platform. It is hiding in plain sight, and it is doing a very good job of it. Most of the world does not know it is there. Most of the world does not know we are being watched. But we know, and now you know. The method by which the Remnant is intercepting our satellite communications is particularly clever. It is not jamming the signals. It is not interfering with the transmissions. It is simply listening. Inductive coupling is a technique where you can detect electromagnetic fields without physically connecting to the source. Every satellite transmission creates an electromagnetic field. That field radiates outward in all directions. Most of that energy is wasted. It does not reach the intended receiver. It just dissipates into space. But the Remnant is positioned to catch that wasted energy. It is like standing next to a conversation and eavesdropping without the speakers knowing you are there. The Remnant has highly sensitive receivers that can detect even the faintest electromagnetic signals. It can pick up the spillover from our satellite transmissions, and because it is positioned above the geosynchronous belt, it can see all of our satellites at once. It has a bird's eye view of our entire communication infrastructure. Every phone call, every email, every video stream, every financial transaction, all of it is being intercepted, and there is nothing we can do about it. We cannot encrypt our way out of this. The Remnant is not breaking our encryption. It is simply copying the encrypted data and sending it home. Whoever is on the receiving end has all the time in the world to decrypt it. And with their level of technology, our encryption is probably trivial to break. Every 1 hour, the Remnant sends a tight beam transmission toward the outer solar system. A tight beam transmission is a highly focused radio signal. Instead of broadcasting in all directions, it is aimed at a specific target. This makes it very difficult to intercept. Unless you are directly in the path of the beam, you will not detect it. And the Remnant is very careful about when and where it transmits. It waits until it has a clear line of sight to its target. It waits until there are no satellites or spacecraft in the way. And then it sends a burst of data, a compressed packet of information that contains everything it has observed since the last transmission. Where is it sending this data? We do not know for certain. But based on the direction of the beam, it appears to be aimed at a point beyond the orbit of Neptune. Is 3I Atlas still out there receiving these transmissions? Or is there another object, another relay station, that is forwarding the data to an even more distant location? We do not know, but we know the data is being sent, and we know it is being received. Someone, somewhere, is getting regular updates on everything happening on Earth. Our wars, our politics, our technology, our culture, all of it is being reported. We are being cataloged, we are being studied, we are being assessed, and we have no idea what conclusions are being drawn from that assessment. The Kessler Syndrome is a scenario proposed by NASA scientist Donald Kessler in 1978. The idea is simple but terrifying. If you have enough debris in orbit, collisions become inevitable, and each collision creates more debris, which causes more collisions, which creates even more debris. It is a cascade effect, a chain reaction, and once it starts, it is almost impossible to stop. The result is that low Earth orbit becomes unusable. Too much debris, too much risk. Satellites cannot survive. Spacecraft cannot launch. We would be trapped on Earth, cut off from space, for decades, possibly centuries. This is why we cannot shoot down the Remnant. It is positioned in the graveyard orbit, surrounded by dead satellites and spent rocket stages. If we destroy it, we create a cloud of debris. That debris will collide with other objects, creating more debris. The cascade begins, and the Remnant knows this. It is using our own infrastructure as a shield. It is holding our space capabilities hostage. Try to destroy me, and you destroy yourselves. It is a brilliant strategy, and it is one we have no counter for. We are stuck. We are trapped. We are being watched, and there is nothing we can do about it. At least, nothing obvious. The reports from North Dakota are unconfirmed, but they are persistent enough to warrant serious attention. On the same day that the Remnant inserted itself into orbit, several nuclear missile silos experienced unusual command errors. The launch control systems reported anomalous signals, commands that did not come from any authorized source, commands that, if executed, would have initiated a launch sequence. The systems were immediately shut down. The errors were investigated, and the official explanation was software glitch. But the timing is suspicious. The errors occurred at the exact moment the Remnant parked in orbit. Coincidence? Maybe. But I do not believe in coincidences when it comes to objects that demonstrate this level of technological sophistication. I think the Remnant was testing its capabilities. It was probing our defenses. It was seeing if it could access our most sensitive systems. And it succeeded. It touched the nerve of our apocalypse machine. It demonstrated that it could, if it wanted to, trigger a nuclear launch. It did not do it. It showed restraint, but it showed capability. And that is a message, a warning. We can stop you if we need to. Do not make us need to. This is the kill switch. This is the failsafe. This is the mechanism by which the Remnant can enforce the quarantine. If we try to leave Earth, if we try to launch weapons into space, if we try to do anything that the Remnant interprets as a threat, it can stop us. It can disable our satellites. It can shut down our power grids. It can trigger our own weapons against us. We are not in control. We have never been in control. And now we know it. The psychological impact of knowing we are being watched cannot be overstated. For all of human history, we have had privacy. We have had the ability to think, to speak, to act without being observed. Even in the most oppressive surveillance states, there were limits. There were places you could go, things you could do, thoughts you could have that were private. But the Remnant changes that. It is watching everything, all the time, without pause, without rest. Every satellite transmission, every radio broadcast, every internet packet, all of it is being intercepted. And while it cannot read our minds, it can read our communications. It can see our actions. It can infer our intentions. We are living in a panopticon, a prison where the guard can see everything, but we cannot see the guard. And the knowledge of that surveillance changes behavior. It has to. When you know you are being watched, you act differently. You self-censor, you conform, you avoid doing anything that might be interpreted as threatening or suspicious. This is the chilling effect. And it is already happening. Governments are being more cautious about their space programs. Military planners are rethinking their strategies. Scientists are debating whether to continue certain lines of research, all because we know we are being watched, all because we know there is an eye in the sky that sees everything. And that eye is not human. It is not bound by human ethics or human laws. It is following its own programming, its own mission, its own agenda, and we have no idea what that agenda is. But here is the thing. The Remnant may be stealthy, but it is not invisible. Amateur astronomers around the world have been tracking anomalies in the graveyard orbit. They have been documenting the glitches, the shadows, the objects that move when they should not. And they are sharing their data. They are collaborating. They are building a picture of what is up there. This is citizen science at its best. When the official channels are silent, when the governments are hiding information, the people step up. They point their telescopes at the sky. They collect data. They analyze it. They share it. And slowly, the picture emerges. The remnant is there. It is real. It is active. And we are mapping it. We are tracking its movements. We are documenting its transmissions. This is important work, because knowledge is power. And the more we know about the remnant, the better prepared we are to deal with it. We cannot shoot it down, but maybe we can communicate with it. Maybe we can negotiate. Maybe we can find a way to coexist. Or maybe we can find a way to blind it, to jam its transmissions, to disrupt its surveillance. These are questions that need to be explored, and they are being explored by scientists and engineers and hackers around the world. The remnant may be watching us, but we are watching it too. The governor hypothesis is the most coherent explanation for what we are observing. A governor, in mechanical terms, is a device that regulates the speed of an engine. It prevents the engine from going too fast and destroying itself. In the context of 3I Atlas, the remnant is a governor for human civilization. It is here to regulate our development, to prevent us from going too fast, from expanding too quickly, from becoming a threat. This implies that there is a galactic order, a set of rules, a hierarchy, and we are at the bottom of that hierarchy. We are the children. And the remnant is the babysitter. It is here to make sure we do not hurt ourselves, or more importantly, to make sure we do not hurt anyone else. This is the quarantine. We are being contained. We are being monitored. We are being controlled. And the remnant is the enforcement mechanism. It is the lock on the door. It is the fence around the yard. We can play inside the fence. We can develop our technology, our culture, our civilization, but we cannot leave. Not yet. Not until we have proven ourselves. Not until we have demonstrated that we are ready. And who decides when we are ready? Not us, the remnant, or whoever is controlling the remnant. We are not in charge of our own destiny. We are being managed. And that is a hard truth to accept. But there is another, darker possibility. The harvest hypothesis. What if the remnant is not here to protect us? What if it is here to monitor us until we are ready to be harvested? What if we are the crop? What if human civilization is being cultivated like a farmer cultivates wheat? The remnant is the gardener. It watches, it waits, it monitors our growth. And when we reach a certain level of development, when we have achieved a certain population, a certain technological sophistication, then the harvest begins. What does that mean? What are we being harvested for? Our resources, our technology, our biology, our consciousness? We do not know. But the idea is terrifying, because if we are the crop, then we are not the masters of our own fate. We are livestock. We are property. And the remnant is here to make sure we do not escape before the harvest. This is speculation, of course. We have no proof, but the behavior of the remnant is consistent with this hypothesis. It is watching, it is waiting, it is reporting, and somewhere, someone is receiving those reports. Someone is tracking our progress. Someone is deciding when we are ready, and we have no say in the matter. So the question becomes, can we communicate with the remnant? Can we send a signal? Can we establish a dialogue? Can we negotiate? The answer is, we do not know, but we should try. The remnant is clearly intelligent. It is autonomous. It is making decisions. It is responding to its environment. That suggests it has some form of artificial intelligence, some form of consciousness, however alien. And if it is conscious, if it is intelligent, then maybe it can be reasoned with. Maybe we can explain ourselves. Maybe we can plead our case. Maybe we can convince it that we are ready, that we are peaceful, that we deserve to be free. Or maybe we can at least establish a line of communication, a way to ask questions, a way to get answers. Because right now, we are operating in the dark. We do not know what the Remnant wants. We do not know what its mission is. We do not know what its rules are. And that ignorance is dangerous. It leads to mistakes. It leads to misunderstandings. It leads to conflict. If we can communicate, we can reduce that risk. We can clarify intentions. We can establish boundaries. We can find a way to coexist. But how do we communicate? What language do we use? What medium? These are questions that need to be answered, and they need to be answered soon, because the Remnant is up there. It is watching, it is waiting, and we need to decide what we are going to do about it. Another option is to try to hack the Remnant, to disrupt its surveillance, to blind the eye. This is a risky strategy. If we fail, if the Remnant detects the attempt, it might interpret it as an attack, and we do not know how it would respond. But if we succeed, if we can disrupt its transmissions, if we can interfere with its sensors, then we gain a measure of freedom. We would no longer be under constant surveillance. We would have privacy again. We would have the ability to act without being observed. This is appealing, but it is also dangerous. Because the Remnant is not alone. It is reporting to something. And if it stops reporting, if its transmissions cease, that something will notice. And it might send another probe, or it might send something worse. So hacking the Remnant is a short-term solution at best. It buys us time. But it does not solve the fundamental problem. We are being watched. We are being monitored. We are being controlled. And until we address that fundamental problem, until we find a way to break free of the surveillance, we will never be truly free. So what is the long-term strategy? What do we do about the Remnant? Option 1. We accept it. We learn to live with the surveillance. We adapt. We conform. We play by the rules. This is the safest option. It avoids conflict. It avoids risk. But it also means accepting our status as a monitored, controlled species. Option 2. We resist. We try to hack it, to jam it, to disrupt it. We fight for our freedom, our privacy, our autonomy. This is the riskiest option. It could lead to conflict. It could lead to retaliation. But it also means refusing to accept our status as prisoners. Option 3. We negotiate. We try to communicate. We try to establish a dialogue. We try to find a middle ground. This is the most uncertain option. We do not know if it will work. We do not know if the Remnant is capable of negotiation, but it is worth trying, because the alternative is to remain in ignorance, to remain in fear, to remain trapped. And that is not acceptable. We are human. We are explorers. We are innovators. We are survivors. And we will find a way to deal with the Remnant. We will find a way to break free. It may take time. It may take effort, it may take sacrifice, but we will do it, because that is what humans do. We overcome, we adapt, we prevail. The Remnant is watching, but we are watching back, and we will not be prisoners forever. So what comes next? What happens now? The Remnant is up there. It is watching, it is reporting, and we are down here trying to figure out what to do about it. In the coming weeks and months, we will learn more. We will track its movements. We will analyze its transmissions. We will study its behavior, and we will make decisions. Decisions about how to respond. Decisions about what to do. Those decisions will shape the future of humanity. They will determine whether we remain trapped on Earth or whether we break free and join the cosmic community. They will determine whether we are prisoners or pioneers, whether we are livestock or leaders. The stakes could not be higher, and the time to act is now, because the Remnant is not going away. It is a permanent fixture. It is here to stay, and we need to decide how we are going to live with that reality. Are we going to accept it? Are we going to resist it? Are we going to negotiate with it? These are the questions we need to answer, and we need to answer them together, as a species, as a planet, as a civilization. Because this is not just about one nation or one government. This is about all of us. This is about humanity, and we need to face this challenge united. We need to work together. We need to pool our resources, our knowledge, our creativity, because the Remnant is watching, and it is judging. And we need to show it that we are worthy, that we are ready, that we deserve to be free. The most dangerous moment in an invasion is not when the enemy arrives, it is when they leave. Because when they leave something behind. A mine, a spy, a tripwire. 3I Atlas has left, but it left the Remnant, and the Remnant is watching. It is hiding in the graveyard orbit, camouflaged as space debris. It is intercepting our communications. It is monitoring our activities. It is reporting back to whoever sent it. We are being watched. We are being judged. We are being controlled. And we need to decide what we are going to do about it. Are we going to accept our status as a monitored species? Are we going to resist? Are we going to negotiate? These are the questions that will define our generation. These are the decisions that will shape the future of humanity. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you think we should do. Tell me how you think we should respond, because this is not just a scientific question. This is a human question, and we need every voice, every perspective, every idea. Subscribe to this channel, follow the updates, stay informed, because the next few months will be critical. The next few months will determine whether we remain prisoners or become pioneers. 3I Atlas left something behind, and now we have to deal with it. The visitor has not left, it just moved upstairs. And the sky is not empty. The trash is watching you. Thank you for watching. And remember, the universe is vast, the cosmos is ancient, and we are just beginning to understand our place in it. The Remnant is a messenger from that vast cosmos. And the message it carries may be the most important we have ever received. We owe it to ourselves to listen and to respond wisely. The ship has sailed, but the anchor remains, and the chain is wrapped around our planet. We are grounded, we are watched, we are controlled, but we are not defeated. Not yet, because we are human, and humans do not give up. We do not surrender. We do not accept defeat. We fight, we adapt, we overcome. And we will find a way to break free. We will find a way to blind the eye. We will find a way to cut the chain. It may take time. It may take effort. It may take sacrifice. But we will do it, because that is what humans do. The Remnant is watching, but we are watching back. And the game has just begun.